Are you ready to uncover the chilling secrets buried in the ground? Join us as we explore the 15 most haunted cemeteries in Denmark, where restless spirits still wander among the gravestones. From eerie ghost sightings to strange, unexplained sounds, these cemeteries are home to terrifying tales that will send shivers down your spine. Keep watching if you dare. Some of these stories are too chilling to forget. 1. Assistens Kirkegård, Copenhagen. Tucked away in the bustling streets of Copenhagen, Assistens Kirkegård is a cemetery that holds both history and haunting mystery. Established in 1760, it became the final resting place for some of Denmark's most prominent figures, including the famous writer Hans Christian Andersen and philosopher Søren Kierkegaard. But what many don't know is that the cemetery is said to be home to restless spirits that linger among the graves. Visitors report strange happenings, from cold chills running down their spine to the unsettling feeling of being watched. One chilling story tells of a ghostly figure, thought to be a former gravedigger, who appears at twilight, his footsteps echoing eerily through the quiet cemetery. Some claim to hear whispers in the wind, especially near the grave of Hans Christian Andersen, as if the spirits of the past are still trying to communicate. The eerie silence of Assistens Kirkegård is often broken by sudden gusts of wind that seem to sweep across the graves in a hauntingly unnatural way. With its history of plague victims and famous figures, it's no wonder that Assistens Kirkegård is regarded as one of Denmark's most haunted sites. If you dare to visit, tread carefully. Who knows what secrets the spirits of this historic cemetery may still be guarding. 2. Vestra Kirkegård, Copenhagen. Vestra Kirkegård, one of Denmark's largest and oldest cemeteries, holds more than just the remains of the dead. It cradles the chilling presence of countless souls who refuse to rest. Located in the heart of Copenhagen, this eerie graveyard is home to a multitude of ghostly legends. The most common tale speaks of a woman in white who appears at dusk near the older sections of the cemetery, her mournful cries filling the air as if calling for someone long lost. Those brave enough to walk through Vestra Kirkegård in the late hours often hear whispers that seem to echo between the gravestones, but no one is ever seen nearby. Some visitors have even reported seeing shadowy figures move among the tombstones, only to vanish when approached. One particularly chilling story is of a young man who wandered into the cemetery during a foggy evening. He claimed that the gravestones seemed to shift around him, as though the dead were moving their resting places, surrounding him in a suffocating, inescapable darkness. The sensation of being followed is so intense that many who enter Vestra Kirkegård after sunset feel an overwhelming urge to leave, convinced that the spirits here will not allow them to stay long. The whispers, the figures, the presence. Vestra Kirkegård holds on to its secrets, and perhaps its ghosts, a little too tightly. 3. Helsingør Kirkegård, Helsingør. Nestled near the legendary Kronborg Castle in Helsingør, Helsingør Kirkegård is a cemetery shrouded in mystery and ghostly lore. The cemetery, which has been in existence for centuries, is rumored to be haunted by the restless spirits of sailors and soldiers who met tragic ends. As the fog rolls in from the sea, many visitors have reported hearing the sounds of ghostly footsteps behind them, as if someone is walking through the graves. But when they turn, no one is there. One of the most chilling stories comes from a local fisherman who spoke of a woman dressed in black, weeping at the graves of fallen sailors. Her presence is often felt during stormy nights, as though she is mourning the countless lost lives of those who never returned from sea. But it's not just the figures that haunt this cemetery. Strange occurrences are said to happen as well. Grave markers have been known to shift positions on their own, and cold spots have been felt near certain tombs, particularly during the night. Dragør Kirkegård, with its deep connection to the history of the sea and its proximity to the famous castle where Hamlet was set, is a place where the boundary between the living and the dead feels unnervingly thin. For those who dare to enter, it is a cemetery that lingers long after the visit, a place where the spirits of the past are still calling out from beyond the grave. 4. Lyngby Park Cemetery, Lyngby. Lyngby Park Cemetery in the small town of Lyngby, Denmark, is a place of eerie silence and unsettling presence. Often overlooked by tourists, this cemetery hides dark secrets within its serene surroundings. The grounds are vast, and the older sections are particularly notorious for strange, unexplainable occurrences. Many visitors have reported seeing a tall, shadowy figure walking between the gravestones at dusk, vanishing into the shadows as quickly as it appears. Locals have long believed that the cemetery is haunted by the spirits of those buried in unmarked graves, soldiers and townspeople alike, whose restless souls are trapped in the realm between life and death. One particularly chilling tale speaks of a young girl who once ventured into the cemetery to visit the grave of her grandmother. She was never seen again, but her voice can still be heard calling out in the stillness of the night. Others have felt an overwhelming sense of dread while walking through the cemetery, with a strong compulsion to leave, as if something unseen is following them. Cold winds rush through the tombstones, and sometimes footsteps can be heard behind you, though no one is there. Lyngby Park Cemetery stands as a quiet yet haunted reminder of the mysteries that lie beneath the earth, where the dead may never truly rest. 5. Almenkarnago, Orus. Almenkarnago, located in the city of Orus, Denmark, has long been a site of both reverence and fear. Known for its serene beauty during the day, the cemetery transforms into something far more sinister when night falls. The older sections of the cemetery, where many of the city's founding families are buried, are the focal point of chilling tales. Locals speak of strange happenings, phantom footsteps echoing in the silence, and the occasional flickering of lantern lights that appear at the far end of the cemetery, only to disappear when approached. But the most disturbing story involves the haunting of a lone figure who is said to wander the cemetery at night. Dressed in a long, tattered cloak, this apparition is believed to be the spirit of a grieving mother who tragically lost her children many years ago. Witnesses have claimed to hear the sound of soft sobbing coming from the shadows, and some have even seen the figure standing motionless near the graves, her face hidden behind her cloak. People who have dared to visit Almenkarnago after dark often report feeling a cold hand brush against their arm, or the sensation of being watched from afar. With its mysterious presence and ghostly legends, Almenkarnago is a cemetery where the veil between the living and the dead seems to grow thin, especially as the sun sets and the spirits come out to roam. 6. Hullmanskirkor, Copenhagen. Hullmanskirkor, situated in the heart of Copenhagen, is one of the city's oldest and most eerie cemeteries. With its proximity to the vibrant city life, the cemetery offers an unsettling contrast of stillness and whispers from the past. The graveyard is particularly famous for its connection to Copenhagen's maritime history and has been home to many sailors and naval officers. But it's not just the historical significance that draws attention. It's the strange, inexplicable occurrences that have plagued the cemetery for years. Visitors often report a sudden drop in temperature as they walk through the older sections, and numerous tales surround the sounds of footsteps that follow those walking alone in the cemetery's narrow paths. Some say it is the spirits of the lost sailors whose lives were claimed by the sea, while others believe that it's the restless souls of those who perished in the line of duty at sea, still lingering near their graves. Perhaps the most chilling tale is of a sailor who is said to appear on stormy nights, his ghostly form floating above the gravestones, silently watching those who dare to venture near. Locals have spoken of a strange glowing light that sometimes flickers between the trees, disappearing as soon as it's noticed. Hullmanskirkor is more than just a cemetery. It is a threshold between the living and the dead, where the echoes of the past come to life in the most terrifying ways. 7. Sunder Kager, Aalborg. Sunder Kager in Aalborg is a cemetery that stirs unease, especially among those who wander its grounds after dark. With its ancient tombstones and weathered graves, it is a place steeped in both history and haunting. Many visitors have recounted eerie experiences within its borders, where the air seems to grow heavier and colder as night falls. One particularly chilling account involves the mysterious appearance of a shadowy figure who is often seen standing motionless near the oldest graves, only to vanish when approached. Some believe this ghostly figure is the restless spirit of a young woman who was buried there centuries ago under tragic circumstances. Her spirit, it is said, roams the cemetery, seeking something or someone that she lost. The sensation of being followed is common, and several locals claim they have heard faint whispers and the sound of footsteps echoing behind them, even when no one else is around. On rare occasions, a soft, sorrowful melody is said to float through the cemetery, but when the source is searched for, no one can be found. These strange occurrences have earned Sunder Kager a reputation as one of Aalborg's most haunted and eerie places, where the living often feel the chilling presence of the dead just a little too close for comfort. 8. Garsons Kager, Copenhagen. Garsons Kager in Copenhagen, a cemetery rich in military history, is shrouded in unsettling tales of the dead who refuse to rest. The graveyard is home to soldiers who perished in various conflicts, and it is believed that their spirits still wander the grounds, disturbed by the horrors they faced. Visitors have reported hearing distant marching sounds late at night, only to find nothing when they investigate. The most chilling legend centers around a phantom soldier who is said to appear in the vicinity of a particular grave, his uniform faded but unmistakable. Many have described seeing him stand at attention, his eyes fixed on something only he can see, before he disappears into thin air. Others have claimed to hear the sound of heavy boots marching behind them as they walk through the cemetery, but when they turn, no one is ever there. On stormy nights, a shadowy figure has been spotted near the entrance, holding a lantern as if guiding lost souls. The heavy atmosphere and the tragic history of Garsons Kager have made it a hotspot for those drawn to the paranormal. Some even believe the cemetery is haunted not just by the soldiers buried there, but by the very essence of war itself, an invisible force that continues to haunt the living long after the dead have gone. For those who dare to enter, Garsons Kager is a place where the line between the living and the dead is disturbingly thin. 9. Odense Assistens Cemetery, Odense. Located in the city of Odense, Assistens Cemetery is one of Denmark's most infamous cemeteries, not just for its historical significance, but for the eerie occurrences that have been reported over the years. As the final resting place of many notable figures, including the famous author Hans Christian Andersen, this cemetery is rich in both history and mystery. The most unsettling phenomenon involves ghostly figures seen at dusk, particularly around the graves of those who passed under tragic or mysterious circumstances. Some visitors have reported seeing the figure of a young woman in a long dress, wandering near Andersen's grave, her expression one of deep sorrow. Her presence is said to be linked to the author's melancholic stories, adding to the chilling atmosphere that envelops the cemetery. Other witnesses claim to have heard soft whispers and laughter, sometimes thought to be spirits from the past who refuse to leave the graveyard. Particularly in the early hours, when the cemetery is shrouded in mist, many claim to feel an overwhelming sense of dread, as if being watched by unseen eyes. The most disturbing account is of a visitor who felt a sudden chill grip them as they passed a particular tombstone, followed by a whisper calling their name. When they turned, no one was there. The reputation of Odense Assistens Kirkegård as a place where the boundaries between the living and the dead seem to blur makes it one of Denmark's most haunted and eerie burial grounds. 10. Fredericksberg Kirkegård, Fredericksburg. Frederiksberg Kirkegård, a cemetery tucked away in the Fredericksburg district of Copenhagen, is a place where the living and the dead seem to merge into one eerie world. The cemetery, known for its beautiful landscaping and peaceful atmosphere during the day, takes on a different and more sinister energy at night. Many locals have reported strange occurrences, particularly near the oldest graves. One common story involves a tall, dark figure dressed in a long coat, said to walk silently between the tombstones at dusk. People who have seen this apparition often describe feeling a wave of dread wash over them, as if something unseen is closing in on them. The most disturbing tale from Frederiksberg Kirkegård is that of a grieving widow who supposedly never left her husband's grave after his untimely death. According to legend, she can still be seen in the moonlight, kneeling by the tombstone, her face hidden in her hands as she mourns. Visitors who wander too close report hearing soft sobbing, but when they turn around, no one is there. Others claim to have seen her figure disappear into the ground, as if swallowed by the earth itself. The cemetery is also known for strange sounds that seem to come from nowhere, especially around the more desolate areas of the grounds. Whether it's the rustling of leaves or the faint whispering of voices, Frederiksberg Kirkegård's dark history and ghostly legends make it one of the most unsettling places in Copenhagen, a place where the dead don't seem to rest quietly. 11. Roskilde Cemetery, Roskilde. Roskilde Cemetery, located in the ancient city of Roskilde, is a place where the past is ever present and the spirits of the dead seem to linger among the gravestones. Known as the burial site of many of Denmark's royal figures, the cemetery has a long history, and with it, countless chilling tales of restless souls. One of the most famous legends associated with Roskilde Cemetery is that of a royal spirit who is said to walk between the graves under the cover of night. This ghostly figure, often described as a tall, regal man in 16th century attire, is believed to be one of the kings buried in the cemetery. Several visitors have reported seeing him near the royal graves, his form appearing faint and shimmering, but always vanishing when approached. Other strange phenomena include the sound of footsteps echoing across the cemetery when no one is around, and the feeling of being watched by unseen eyes. Some have felt inexplicable cold chills near the oldest graves, while others have claimed to hear whispers carried on the wind, speaking in a language no living person understands. In one particularly eerie account, a young woman claimed to have seen a group of shadowy figures standing silently at the edge of the cemetery, their faces hidden in the darkness. When she tried to approach, they disappeared into the night, leaving behind only a lingering sense of dread. Roskilde Cemetery's connection to Denmark's royal history and its eerie presence at night have made it a site of fascination and fear for those who dare to visit after dark. For many, it's a place where the boundaries between the living and the dead become hauntingly thin. 12. Haderslev Kirkegård, Haderslev. Haderslev Kirkegård, located in the quaint town of Haderslev, is a cemetery steeped in eerie legends and dark histories. While it appears peaceful during the day, as night falls, the cemetery becomes an entirely different place. Known for its ancient gravestones, many of which are over a century old, Haderslev Kirkegård has been the site of numerous paranormal events. The most chilling story is that of a woman in white, said to haunt the cemetery late at night. Legend has it that she was buried here after a tragic death, and her spirit has never found peace. Visitors have described seeing her apparition, dressed in a flowing white gown, moving silently between the tombstones. The air around her seems unnaturally cold, and the faint smell of lavender is often reported to accompany her presence. Many people who have walked through the cemetery after dark report hearing soft, mournful sobbing in the distance, which seems to echo throughout the grounds. Some claim to have been followed by an invisible presence, feeling a sudden urge to leave, but when they turn around, there is nothing there. Even more unsettling are reports of voices whispering names, as if calling out from the graves themselves. The cemetery is also known for an unusually large number of unmarked graves, which some believe could be the final resting places of those whose spirits are still trapped within the cemetery's walls. Whether it's the spirits of the forgotten dead or the ghostly woman in white, Haderslev Kirkegård is a place that will leave anyone who visits after dark with a lingering sense of dread and a feeling that they are never truly alone. 13. Orus Nordra Kirkegård, Orus. Orus Nordra Kirkegård, located in the city of Aarhus, Denmark, is a cemetery shrouded in eerie mystery and ghostly lore. Known for its beautiful but haunting landscape, this graveyard has been the subject of countless ghost stories, most of which revolve around a peculiar sense of foreboding that seems to hang in the air. Visitors often report a chilling feeling of being watched, particularly in the older sections of the cemetery. One of the most famous legends associated with Orus Nordra Kirkegård is that of a ghostly figure that appears around the time of the full moon. Described as a tall, shadowy man in dark, old-fashioned clothing, this figure is said to wander among the tombstones, often disappearing when approached. Some believe he is the spirit of a long-dead priest, while others think he is a soul lost in grief, unable to leave the cemetery. Another terrifying account involves strange noises, soft whispers, the clinking of chains, and distant footsteps that seem to come from nowhere. Several visitors have claimed to hear these sounds as they walk the cemetery paths, only to find nothing when they turn around. The atmosphere at night becomes even more unnerving when the moonlight casts long, unnatural shadows across the graves. Many have also claimed to feel cold spots as they move through the cemetery, with some even saying they've experienced an overwhelming sense of dread that makes them flee the area. Orus Nordra Kirkegård is a place where the line between the living and the dead seems dangerously blurred, and where the spirits of the past refuse to stay silent. 14. Kolding Kirkegård, Kolding ***. Kolding Kirkegård, located in the city of Kolding, Denmark, is a cemetery known for its haunting atmosphere and a history that stretches back centuries. With its peaceful and serene appearance during the day, it transforms into a place of mystery and unease when darkness falls. The most chilling stories connected to this cemetery involve the unearthly presence of figures seen at night, especially near the older sections of the graveyard. Locals often speak of a tall, shadowy figure wearing a long coat, seen standing near a particular grave. The figure is said to vanish as soon as someone approaches, leaving behind a sense of dread and confusion. Some say this is the ghost of a former caretaker who passed away under mysterious circumstances. In addition to sightings of ghostly figures, many visitors report hearing strange noises in the stillness of the night, soft footsteps that echo across the cemetery paths, even when no one is nearby. Some have also experienced sudden drops in temperature, particularly in the vicinity of unmarked graves, which are believed to be the resting places of those whose spirits are trapped in the cemetery. Perhaps the most disturbing account is that of a visitor who claimed to have seen an apparition of a child running between the graves, only to disappear when they attempted to follow. The atmosphere at Kolding Kirkegård becomes especially eerie on foggy evenings, when the mist seems to form shapes that resemble figures watching from the gravestones. With its rich history and chilling stories, Kolding Kirkegård remains one of Denmark's most haunted cemeteries, a place where the dead never seem to rest in peace. 15. Dragør Cemetery, Dragør. Dragør Cemetery, located in the small coastal town of Dragør, just outside Copenhagen, is known for its deep connection to the sea and a chilling atmosphere that haunts its grounds. The cemetery has been the final resting place for many of the town's seafaring inhabitants, and it is said that the spirits of those lost at sea still haunt the cemetery to this day. Visitors have reported seeing figures in old-fashioned sailor clothing walking silently between the graves at night. Some believe these are the spirits of fishermen who perished in shipwrecks or drowned at sea, their restless souls unable to find peace. The most disturbing phenomena occur on stormy nights, when the cemetery seems to come alive with eerie sounds. The wind howls through the trees, but there are also reports of hearing whispers and the sound of waves crashing, as though the sea itself is calling from within the cemetery. Several accounts describe ghostly apparitions of sailors standing at the edge of the cemetery, staring out toward the sea as if waiting for a ship that will never return. Some visitors have even claimed to feel the unmistakable presence of someone walking behind them, only to turn and find no one there. The cemetery's close proximity to the ocean adds to the unease, and the fog that often rolls in over the graves makes it difficult to see clearly. It's in these moments, when visibility is low and the air is thick with mist, that many believe the spirits of Dragør Cemetery are at their most active, when the living are most vulnerable to the forgotten dead. This hauntingly atmospheric location is a place where the line between the land and the sea seems to blur, and the restless spirits of sailors may still be wandering, waiting for someone to remember their stories. Now that you've discovered the haunting stories of Denmark's most eerie cemeteries, would you dare to visit any of them? These dark and mysterious places are not just historical sites. They're portals to the unknown. If you enjoyed this spine-tingling journey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more terrifying tales from the world's most haunted locations.